Peace, breathing out love. Everybody turn and spin. One of the phrases in Pete Singer's song, Let It Be a Dance. This sermon has two parts that I want to explore and find some meaning for us today. The first will focus on an analysis of the call for everybody to participate. And the second part looks at the dichotomy of turning versus spinning, using some combination of symbolism and metaphor. Resources include, of course, Rick Maston's own insights, also writings of theologians and congregational life consultants, also Karen Armstrong's book that I picked up at the when they were having the library sale at the casino. I thought I hadn't read that yet. The Battle of God, A History of Fundamentalism, my current read, and also Daniel Gardner's book, The Science of Fear, also Wikipedia and AI summations of all of the above and more, plus my own memories and quasi-divine inspiration. First, everybody. Did you enjoy dancing this morning and how we all participated in our own ways, especially the children? Yes. Rick Maston sang, everybody turn and spin. Not everybody, one word, but everybody, each of us as we are. He's not just inviting us to dance, he's calling us to participation, to openness, to community. Life, as we know, does not stand still, does it? Seasons turn, children grow, our congregations evolve. The world actually shifts beneath our feet sometimes. Rick Maston's invitation of everybody turn and spin is something to ask all of us to participate. All of us to participate. It doesn't pretend that dancing through life is always easy or joyful. No. It simply acknowledges that movement is inevitable and that we have a choice in how we meet it. We can resist it, we can brace against it, try to stay perfectly still while everything moves around us, or we can join the dance. Just as we danced this morning to different rhythms as we heard the music playing, to dance with life doesn't mean we always control the rhythm. It means we participate. It means we say yes to being part of something bigger than ourselves. Participation is the heartbeat of any spiritual community. Unitarian Universalism in particular is not a faith of spectators. This is not a consumer-oriented, let's sit here and just enjoy the thing, eat our popcorn while Jane preaches or something. No. We don't have a single script handed down from above. I hear some preachers complain about that. Say, oh my gosh, we have to come up, most churches have, okay, it's this Sunday, this is the scripture, this is the whatever, this is the liturgy. We don't have that. Instead we co-create meaning together. And that way our congregation it's kind of like an ongoing dance. Each person brings their own rhythm, their own steps, their own song. And when we show up, when we teach in RE, when we greet at the door, or sing in the choir, or share our joy, our concern, we're saying, I am a part of this. We're dancing with the rest of the circle. It doesn't matter if you know all the moves. It doesn't matter if you step on a few toes. What matters is that you show up. At least a little. We have to trust our bodies, trust the rhythm, trust the people dancing beside us. In community, that trust takes shape as openness. Openness to new people walking through the doors, openness to new ideas that stretch our thinking, openness to change. Openness to change, because as every long-time you knows, change is the only constant in a congregation. Now, in a real dance, there's always a moment when we falter. When we lose the beat, when we trip or stumble, that's when community matters the most. Because if we're truly dancing together, someone will steady us. Someone will hold out a hand. Someone will laugh with us, not at us. At UUCG, we do that holding for one another. We show up with meals, with phone calls, with prayers, and with presence. And when we do that, we keep dancing together. No matter what life throws at us, we become a living embodiment of Rick Maston's song. And we learn to harmonize in our singing and dancing. Didn't the choir share some beautiful harmony in singing Pete Seeger's song, Turn, Turn, Turn? Did you hear the harmony this morning? Yes. We don't have to do everything exactly alike when we participate in the congregation. But it is wonderful when we can pay attention to what others are doing and strive for some harmony. Harmony isn't about everybody singing the same note. Harmony is about difference. Different notes blending into something beautiful. The same is true for community. We don't all think alike, or believe alike, or live alike. But when we dance together, we make space for each other's truths. When we listen deeply, when we choose connection over control, that's when the harmony happens. So as we look toward the future of UUCG, especially with me retiring in June, toward what's next, toward what could be, I invite you to think about your own part in the dance. Where are you being called to step in? What gifts, what energy, what song do you bring? And where might you need, this is hard for some of us, where might you need to let go? To trust the rhythm, to open your arms, to let yourself be carried by the motion of something bigger. Now, it's okay if you need to occasionally sit out a dance or two, but it's not the same without you. No. We invite everybody to find a way to contribute to this great dance. Part 2, turn and spin. Greg Brock started coming to the UU Church in Statesboro at the beginning of this century with his 2 children. He shared with others that he first became somewhat enamored with me when I danced a sermon. At the time, I was a lay leader in the congregation while I completed my work at Georgia Southern, enabling me to retire from Georgia Southern in 2005, and I was taking classes as I worked on my Master of Divinity at Meadville Lombard. Now, Greg misremembered a little bit. I was not dancing a sermon. He's turned red. I'm sorry, Greg. I was not dancing a sermon. I was sharing a silent dance in lieu of a reading before my sermon. I thought about trying to recreate that for you here today, but I was afraid I might fall and injure myself further. Plus, an interpretive dance I shared with this congregation my first year here had some calling for my resignation. So I'll just describe it for you. I had 2 props for this dance. One was a book that I picked up from the floor and read for the first part of the dance. Of course, the book represented the logos, knowledge, and reason. My dance was quite robotic, with 90-degree turns this way and that. Though my facial expression was one of interest initially, it turned to boredom, and I threw down the book. I then picked up the purple scarf and began a more passionate dance with it. But the ecstasy of that dancing ended up with me spinning so rapidly that I fell down in a lump on the floor. Then I looked at the book and the scarf, picked them both up, and began a dance with meaning and grace. I bowed at the end and let the congregation come to their own conclusions. I think Greg concluded that our age difference wasn't that big a deal. So when I see Rick's words turn and spin, I think of the dichotomy of religious thought and practices through the centuries that have lifted up reason and logic over passion and inspiration, and vice versa. Here are just a few quotes of the more famous quotes regarding reason and passion. The law is reason free from passion, Aristotle. Reason is God's crowning gift to man, Sophocles. We arrive at truth not by reason only, but also by the heart, Blaise Pascal. Happiness is not an ideal of reason, but of imagination, Immanuel Kant. Mankind is governed more by feelings than by reason, Samuel Adams. The madman is not the man who has lost his reason. The madman is the man who has lost everything except his reason, G.K. Chesterton. If passion drives you, let reason hold the reins, Benjamin Franklin. And of course, one should not discuss the topic of reason without mentioning John Locke. So, John Locke. And there are many women, including my hero, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, who were lovers of reason, and many others who also were lovers of passion. But not enough of this who's who. What about us? Many of us were attracted to Unitarian Universalism because we didn't have to leave our brains at the door. Yet most of us want to gain more from our faith than knowledge and understanding, and we bring our whole selves into this faith, not just our reasoning. We affirm with the children each Sunday morning that Unitarian Universalists are people of open minds, loving hearts, and helping hands. Although folks have noted this tension since ancient times, we now have the technology to actually see a little more about how this works, because we can monitor brain activity related to decision making. And what we're seeing is that folks may believe they have totally based decisions on logic. Have you heard about this research? But indeed, they are using that gut aspect of thinking. Then sometimes rationalizing some logic to match it, or sometimes rejecting it based on more logical thinking. According to Daniel Gardner, author of The Science of Fear, he says, people process information primarily through two mental modes or channels that operate in parallel. The first mode of information processing occurs mainly on the subconscious level. The second at the conscious level. Gardner refers to these two modes as gut and head, respectively. Gut processing is sophisticated, intuitive, and quick. Head processing, on the other hand, is analytical, slow, and rational. Each mode of mental processing has strengths and weaknesses, and each plays a distinct role in decision making. Gut makes decisions quickly, but head can monitor, kind of like Benjamin Franklin said, got to have something to kind of hold the reins. Head can monitor gut's decision and overrule them when necessary. According to Gardner, gut decides, head reviews. This process is how most of our thoughts and decisions are made. Essentially, we are of two minds, each of which work semi-independently of the other. What makes this interaction between the gut and head so interesting is that sometimes head doesn't bother to monitor gut. Head doesn't step in at all. When this happens, decision-making occurs automatically under the radar of our conscious attention. When I hit that guardrail, I didn't even remember what I was doing. I later figured it out. I needed to move over so others can get in the left lane, merge. But I just made that decision quickly. I got to move over to the next lane. I did it quickly, and I ended up messing up and getting in an accident. I was going by my gut. So although gut enables an efficient way of navigating a complex world, it can also lead us astray. The challenge is that head can't look inside gut to figure out how our gut operates the way it does. Our subconscious is much like a black box with no access doors. It's strictly off limits to the conscious mind. All head can do is monitor and override gut when necessary. It can't change or negate the influence of gut. In this book, The Battle of God, Karen Armstrong explores the rise of religious fundamentalism in the modern world by examining a key distinction between two complementary ways of knowing. She calls this the mythos and the logos. And she looks back in history as how this is happening, when fundamentalism is kind of taken over. Usually happens when people get too scared of what's happening with the secular side of the world, and These terms, drawn from ancient Greek thought, represent different but equally necessary approaches to human experience in the world. Armstrong argues that the modern conflict between religion and secular reason arises largely because this ancient balance has been lost. Mythos, she explained, refers to meaning making through story, ritual, and symbols. Now, way back when, the ancients, they told these stories not because necessarily they saw when they happened, and they changed. The stories weren't literally true, but they had truths in them. It taught people how to have meaning making, etc. And the stories meant something, so they had them that way. It deals with the eternal, timeless patterns of human experience, birth and death, love and loss, suffering and transcendence. Mythos does not depend on factual accuracy. It's kind of like the fairy tales we tell children. They usually have a truth in them, even though they may not be accurate, but on its ability to convey through metaphor and narrative. In pre-modern societies, mythos provided a framework for interpreting life's mysteries and for orienting individuals with a moral and spiritual universe. It helped people find significance and resilience in the face of uncertainty and suffering. Logos, on the other hand, is the rational, pragmatic mode of thought. It concerns itself with empirical observation, efficiency, and problem solving. Logos looks outward to explain how things work and to manipulate the physical world. In classical and medieval thought, logos was seen as essential, but it was never expected to provide ultimate meaning or purpose. Mythos and logos work together. Logos explained the mechanics of the world, while mythos guided humanity's search for value and purpose within it. Armstrong argues that this balance began to unravel in the modern era, particularly during the Enlightenment. As science advanced, logos began to dominate Western culture. Rational inquiry and empirical evidence replaced the mythic imagination as primary measures of truth. Religion, once understood as a mythic system offering moral and existential guidance, began to be judged by scientific standards of proof. People were looking at it and saying, let me prove that this really happened, that the boat was that big that Noah built, that kind of stuff. Religion, once understood as many believers, feeling their spiritual worldview was under attack, began to interpret religious myths as literal, historical fact. And that's what we have happen even in our time. A move that Armstrong identifies as the foundation of modern fundamentalism. You get afraid about all this happening, and you start to interpret those mythical stories as factual history. This literalization of myth, Armstrong contends, is a profound misunderstanding of a religion's original function. Fundamentalists, whether Jewish, Christian, or Muslim, reacted to the rise of secularism by transforming mythos into a form of pseudo-logos, treating sacred stories as factual accounts or scientific explanations rather than symbolic expressions of transcendent truth. And I think that's what's happened today, as people become fearful of a lot of the changes that are taking place in technology, science, and how we look in the world, and they've gone back and clung to these words and tried to make them literally true. The result was a distortion of both religion and reason, fueling the battle for God, that defines much of global conflict. Many of these wars that we have across the world are based on religion, the battle for God. Ultimately, Armstrong suggests that a recovery of mythos, understood not as falsehood, but as a different kind of truth, is essential to healing this rift. Mythos does not replace logos, but complements it, offering wisdom about meaning, morality, and human purpose that reason alone cannot supply. The challenge of the modern age, she concludes, is to restore a creative balance between the two, recognizing that both are vital for a fully human understanding of reality. Well, I've given you a lot of information from many sources, but my gut tells me it's time to get to the so what of this message. Well, there are lots of possible responses to the so what question, but I'm just going to concentrate on the so what as we look forward to planning for 2026. We'll be winding down our stewardship drive, and I ask you to use both your head and heart in determining how you can dance and harmonize with us. Because we need everybody. We are a small congregation, but our shared ministry is so important to our members and friends and to this community. A community like Brunswick, Georgia, needs a Unitarian Universalist ministry within it. Yes. I urge you to symbolically, as like I did in my dance that Greg enjoyed, symbolically pick up the book and the scarf as you determine how you might dance with us into the future. And I invite you to help me end this message by singing this song. Let it be a dance we do. May I have this dance with you in the good times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance. Everybody turn and spin. Let your body learn to bend. And like a willow with a bend, let it be a dance. Amen and blessed be. All right. Now, folks, because we had several different additions to our service today, we're going to do something a little bit different. Some folks are going to start passing the baskets, but I do not have a song, an offertory. You can see how you can share with us. If you want to give us a tip, even if you've done, I'll remind people, even if you've already done your pledge, we accept tips here. If you've got something down in your pocket you can put in there, you know. All right. You had a good meal, you know, leave a good tip. Okay. So while they're passing that, we are going to go ahead and move forward, though, with our joys and concerns as this is being passed. If you have a special joy and concern, the way we do this is you come up and put a shell in the sand and share it, or I can bring the microphone to you and you can share your joy or concern. Who has something they want to share today?
Hi, my name is Maria. So back in September, I rescued three three-week-old kittens and a 1-year-old mama cat at my apartment complex. They were living in the woods. I got them neutered and spayed and they're shot, and now, what day is it? Sunday? So on Friday, the mama cat and the last kitten were adopted. So they have all been adopted into a lovely family. And it's great because now I can sleep in like an extra half an hour. That's great. Yeah.
Others. Thanks. And please share your name because we have visitors that don't know about anything, because sometimes I forget too.
Good morning, Diane Jackson. I was sitting on Friday and I got a phone call. And let me tell y'all something. I didn't want to answer the phone because I thought it was something bad. And then when I let the phone ring and I heard him talking on my voicemail, I said, oh my God, oh my God, please don't let them tell us we didn't make it with this. And when I got on the phone, the federal people said, y'all won. She said that Mike Michaels can never get out. And said, y'all be happy about that because y'all did a fight. And she said so many people tried to have them removed from the federal first. But she said they got to do all the state time first, if they make it, and then they'll be turned over to the federal. And Brian can get parole when he gets 90 years old. So that'll be the only one up for parole. And I thank y'all for all the support that y'all gave me and my family through this hymn. And I told my brother last night to march and rest because we got them where they're supposed to be at. And hope this never happens in this community again.
I give an update on Barbara Sprouse. Y'all know Barbara was in the hospitalized. Barbara has graduated though to a recovery place. She's at Heritage, which many of us remember as Magnolia Manor. So she's right there at St. Simon's at Magnolia Manor doing her recovery and trying to get stronger so she can eventually graduate, maybe home, maybe somewhere else. We'll see. Barbara enjoys phone calls, cards, visits. So now, when you're in recovery though, there's some of the times that you're out of physical therapy. So I'm going to visit her this week, but I'm going to try to call and figure out when is the best time. That's not a bad thing to do, because so you make sure you don't come while she's being in recovery. But we're so happy that she has, she gets down, but she gets back up. Pretty amazing. Okay,
Hey, my name's Lisa. I've been working a lot with the children's program, and so I'm never in here. It was like the first time I sat through the whole service in one. But I've got about as much concentration level as they do, so I would really have to have the seatbelt, that's why. Anyway, so I got a couple of joys. One of them is Brad Kelly, who I don't think half of you know who he is. It did our beautiful library. Just stand He did some really fine work. He's just a really creative person, and so I'm glad he's part of our congregation. And as you could see today with all the dancing, those kids are a blast. And as she said, everybody is needed here to participate, and we do need your help. For one thing, our helper for the child care will be going home for the holidays, because she's a college student. She lives in Atlanta. So we will be needing extra help through the holidays. I think you can see that these kids are fun to be with. We just need people. If several of us sign up to help, it's a lot more fun. You don't have to do it every week. You get to take turns and turn. It's fantastic.
Turn. I will share that we don't need so much help on December 21st back there, because it's going to be an intergenerational service. The kids will be in here the whole time with us. We're going to have our unrehearsed Christmas pageant. I promise y'all. You bring home, you'll be an angel, you'll be very, I got all the props and everything. Hopefully I'll be able to play the piano so that we can sing all the carols that go with it. The choir has a couple of special pieces they're going to do. And it's going to be a fabulous service, a fun service, but one in which everyone will participate. Now, the way we do it here is it's not just the children that take part. We usually have adults that help us too. So, if you want to be a wise one, we don't say wise men here, we say wise ones. If you want to be a wise one, we'll put a Burger King cap on your head and allow you to do that with us. So that's coming up the 21st. Anybody else have a special joy or concern? All right. Well, I'll put one more in for those joys and concerns that we have in our hearts. Many of us have something going on. Not everybody wants to come share it out loud, but we know you do. And so this is for you, okay? And me. As I continue to try to get back, I invite you now, and I get you to rise up for this. Let's stand up and share in our message of, in a prayerful way of Spirit of Life. the stirrings of compassion blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice, roots hold me close, wings set me free, Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. You can remain standing while we extinguish the flame. Please share these words with me. We extinguish the flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. If you'll have a seat for just a few moments, and we'll see if anybody has any announcements. I know one announcement for the people that are on the board. We have a board meeting after church, so I'll remind you of that.
I'm Judith, and I'm working with Diane to try and get together Thanksgiving dinner at Amon Arbery Park. Several of us in here have already volunteered turkeys